The CMA is deeply disappointed with Alberta's decision to use the notwithstanding clause to infringe on the rights of physicians to be able to make decisions that they believe are the best interest of their patients and the patients to be able to get the care that they need. Really, by doing the notwithstanding clause, politicians are stepping into the exam room along with the physician, the patient, and their family and making decisions on behalf of that group.
We also discussed the CMA's view that this legislation directly interferes with clinical care and about how Bill 26 limits physicians' ability to provide gender-affirming treatment.
This is a pretty unprecedented move by any government. I can't really think of any other examples in Canada right now where there's a government telling physicians what medications they can or can't prescribe. And that's a big problem because we know that the medical science is complicated. It's always changing. We're always learning more, getting better, and it's really individualized. And so having a politician with no medical background, no knowledge of the individual that we're talking about, making decisions about what treatments are or are not an option for that person is really like stepping into the clinic and being part of that discussion. And in fact, being in charge of that discussion and stopping people from being able to make decisions based on what the science says and what that individual really needs when it comes to their life. And so while the government may say that they're protecting youth by doing this, what they're really doing is limiting access to care and making decisions on their behalf instead of having them with their family and their physician explore all of the options available and making informed decisions that are tailored to their needs.
The CMA also raises concerns about the bill's restrictions on which medications doctors can use and when, and what that means for patient safety and established medical best practices.
It's so important that complex medical decisions are made by medical experts who have spent many, many years learning about this science and are keeping up with it as it changes, alongside the patient who knows their own experience, their own needs, what they come to the doctor about. And also we want the families involved. And those are who the experts are in what decisions need to be made. Having a politician who doesn't have that scientific expertise deciding what is or isn't going to be available is unprecedented. I don't want my politicians telling me whether or not I should get a knee replacement. I don't want them telling me what type of hypertension medication I should be taking. And I don't want them telling me whether or not I should be taking hormones for a condition that I require them for. I want to make sure that we have medical experts have the freedom of conscience to offer what they believe to be the best option for the patient in front of them instead of being told what is or isn't available. They've also made it so that we can't offer surgery to youth, and that's something that isn't even really happening in Canada. So this law is... So my concerns about this law are much less about the content and much more about the precedent it sets, having a politician making decisions on behalf of a patient, on behalf of a physician, about what is the best treatment in a complex world.
The organization describes the bill as an unprecedented intrusion into the physician-patient relationship. And here's what the intrusion looks like in a practical day-to-day clinical term.
So in practical terms, this means that physicians are limited in what they can offer youth when it comes to helping them navigate through a complex time in their life and a complex condition. And in a situation where the science is always changing, always improving, we need to have the flexibility to be able to offer advice that's consistent with the current science and specifically tailored to that person, because we know that for what is right for one person may not be right for the other, even when they have the same health condition. And that's not different in this case. We need to be able to go through all of the different options and find that really unique approach to each individual, basing it on the best science that we have.
The Alberta government argues that the legislation protects children's health and safety, and the CMA responded from a clinical and evidence-based perspective.
There are many things that we want governments to do to protect the health and safety of their citizens. That includes making sure that we have drinking and driving laws, that we have healthy air that we breathe and healthy water. There's so many ways that governments can help keep us healthy and safe. But what we also know is that when it comes to medical conditions and medical treatments, that all of us want to be able to make our own decisions. We want to know that when we go talk to our doctor, that they are giving us advice based on the science and their expertise, and that they're not being told what to say by a politician. That's really undermining trust in the system. And how do we know what to believe when our doctor is telling us something if the politicians are involved in that conversation, despite having no medical expertise? And so it's a big problem. that doesn't just apply to this area. They could make a law that applies to reproductive health. They could do something with vaccination. And it's really scary to think that in Canada right now, that there's a government who is making medical decisions on behalf of physicians, on behalf of patients. And regardless of what people's views are on this topic specifically, I think we all could agree that we want to be in charge of our own lives, our own health, and our own medical decisions.